September 1939, Europe was silent, too silent, but that silence was hiding a storm. On the border, German tanks, planes, and soldiers were gathering. Hitler was ready to strike Poland, and almost everyone thought the same thing. Poland will fall in a few days, but the Polish people didn't think that way. For them, this wasn't just about territory, it was about honor. It was about freedom, and surrender was simply not an option. Germany launched a brand new tactic the world had never really seen before. Blitzkrieg, the lightning war. Tanks rolled forward. Fighter planes screamed across the sky, dropping bombs. Infantry followed fast behind, finishing what was left. The whole point was to crush the enemy before they could even react. But the Polish army didn't panic. Their commanders knew static defense lines wouldn't last long, so they switched to what they called a mobile defense. Troops would retreat, regroup, and strike again from a new position. It wasn't chaos, it was strategy, and it worked. It slowed the German advance, forced them to adapt, and bought precious time. And those Polish cavalry units everyone talks about? No. They didn't charge tanks with swords. That's Nazi propaganda. In reality, they used machine guns, anti-tank rifles, and smart ambushes. They were fast, fearless, and incredibly disciplined. Poland's army was spread thin across a huge front. It made them vulnerable, yes, but it also meant the Germans had to fight everywhere at once. And some of those battles became legendary. Take Westerplatte, for example. Just 200 Polish soldiers held off the massive German navy for 7 straight days. Imagine that. 7 days under constant shelling, with no chance of rescue, and they still refused to surrender. Westerplatte became a symbol, not just of resistance, but of pure courage. Then came the Battle of Mokra. Polish cavalry ambushed German tanks hidden among the trees. They used the fog, the forest, and the terrain to their advantage. And that day, the unstoppable Blitzkrieg actually stumbled. It was proof. The German war machine could bleed. The biggest counterattack came at the Bzura River. Tens of thousands of Polish soldiers launched a massive assault. At first, they pushed the Germans back. For a moment, it looked like a miracle, maybe even a turning point. But then the Luftwaffe arrived. German bombers rained destruction on everything that moved. Still, the Poles didn't give up. They fought for every bridge, every forest, every village. And though they eventually had to fall back, they delayed the German advance by days, maybe even weeks. But the fighting wasn't just on the front lines. It was in the cities too. In Warsaw, Krakow, Gdynia. Bombs fell, but people kept resisting. Women carried the wounded. Children ran secret messages through the streets. Priests calmed the crowds in dark churches. The entire nation stood together, and underground a new kind of army was being born, the secret state. Even while occupied, Poland built one of the most organized resistance networks in Europe. Hidden radios broadcast coded messages. Secret newspapers were printed at night. Agents risked their lives to send reports to London. Even under occupation, the Polish state refused to die. But the hardest blow came from their supposed friends. Before the war, Britain and France had promised, if Germany attacks, we will come to your aid. But when the invasion began, that help never came. Yes, they declared war on Germany, but they did nothing. No soldiers, no planes, no action. Poland was on its own. Warsaw was bombed day and night. The city turned to rubble, but the people didn't give up. They built barricades. They fought side by side with the soldiers, and in the streets, one phrase echoed again and again. Nie podejmij się. We will not surrender. Then came September 17th. Another shadow moved in. From the east, the Soviet Union invaded. Now Poland faced 2 superpowers at once. Germany from the west, the Soviets from the east. It was impossible, but they still fought. Some soldiers escaped into the forests, turning into partisans. Others fled through Romania, reaching France and later Britain. They became known as the Polish forces in exile, and those same soldiers, the ones who lost their country, would later return to fight for Europe's freedom. Polish pilots flew in the Battle of Britain and shot down German planes. Their courage saved countless lives. By the end, Poland was crushed between 2 enemies. The Nazis and the Soviets divided the country in half. Millions of Polish citizens, especially Jews, faced unimaginable horrors. But even then, resistance never stopped. Underground schools kept teaching, secret newspapers kept printing, and people still whispered the same words: freedom, honor, hope. When the war finally ended in 1945, Poland wasn't free. Not yet. The Nazis were gone, but the Soviets stayed. Still, the spirit that began in 1939 never died. Roger Morehouse writes, Poland did not lose. It simply fought before the rest of the world did. And that's exactly what happened. In 1939, while everyone else watched, Poland fought alone. It may have fallen, but it fell with dignity, because courage doesn't always mean victory. Sometimes it means standing firm when no one else will. And that's what Poland did. The country fell, but its heart kept beating, a heart that still whispers today, our land can fall, but our courage never will.